Welcome back to Binging the Force, a Star Wars watch party. I'm your sometimes host, Michael, but your all-time producer. We're going to go ahead and get pretty quickly here into the momentous episode, the final episode of the first season, hopefully, of Ahsoka. But let me go ahead and introduce all of our friends here tonight to watch. We've got Jefferson.
Hello.
A new person joining us, Jefferson's friend Steve.
Everybody.
We've got Erin returning.
Hey, guys.
And our longtime companion here, Kim.
Hello, nerds.
Who I'm going to take your last name off of there, Kim. Okay. Let's see. I'm also going to shift some people around.
Shuffle.
There we go. I was wondering what that looks like to people as I kind of rearrange and drag the screens around to people. So we've got episode 8 or book. God, I keep forgetting what it is. Part 8. I guess the chapter is an episode, part 8 of Ahsoka. The Jedi, the Witch, and the
Warlord.
The Warlord. Wow, the Jedi, the Witch, and the Warlord. So we're definitely leaning into several fantasy genres with this show. And we will introduce several elements tonight that are going to say, like, okay, is this sci-fi or is this fantasy? I mean, Star Wars has always been science fantasy, I would say. I think a lot of people would make that argument that Star Wars has never been science fiction in the way that Star Trek is science fiction, the way that Doctor Who is science fiction, or actually Doctor Who might be a little bit more.
I agree.
I would. Star Wars has always been science fantasy.
I would go as far as to just describe it as fantasy, full stop. Tell me where the science is in Star Wars.
Lightsabers and spaceships. Yeah, we got spaceships, we got droids, we got lightsabers.
Yeah, almost nothing in Star Wars has any remote connection to scientific reality. It's fantasy, and we love it for that reason.
Well, I don't know that it's scientific reality, but I mean, I would definitely say droids and spaceships make it science.
Yeah,
but definitely the Force and the presence tonight of a whole ton of magic, is definitely branding it for once and forever as science fantasy.
Two different spellings of magic, by the way.
Yeah.
True. And proving my point, it doesn't really seem out of place, does it?
No, it makes total sense. Well, anyone else have any kind of preamble here before we go ahead and get into the episode? I think it's about a 45-minute episode, so.
Yeah, I would like to start a hashtag like let us binge Star Wars or something. I want them to take out all the credits at the end and the pre-logs at the beginning and let me watch all 8 of these episodes without me having to touch my remote. I know it's simple, but you know what I mean? Like have no interruptions. I want to watch this like a movie.
I mean, I think everyone has that complaint about every streaming service, because every streaming service does that.
Well, let's get Disney to do this.
Yeah.
We just want one 6-hour movie.
6-hour movie, yeah. Yeah, I'd be down for that because and that's the thing. It has a lot of like rising action, falling action, and then at the end we get epic. So let's go ahead and get into the
epic, but okay.
Let's go ahead and get into the epicness of the Jedi, the Witch, and the Warlord. Okay. We've got our recap here. How bad is Thrawn? Thrawn's pretty darn bad.
He's pretty scary.
Jedi, false Jedi, star maps, star whales. Are you to believe any of it? Well, that's what we're saying watching it. I mean, right. Now we got witches.
Witches and Kafka's full of something we don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Magic. Yeah. We've got space whales. My favorite thing in the world, space whales.
Yep.
We got purple hair.
Ezra.
Mm-hmm. We have purple hair people. We have Arabic people with blue eyes. So,
We have blue people with red eyes.
Right.
I saw a thing the other day online complaining about how they tried to make all the actors have the same color of eyes as the characters in the animated version.
Right.
And this person was complaining that it was distracting. And I have to admit that I did not even notice until this person pointed it out.
No, I did.
And then now I can't unsee it. Now he's right. It is distracting now that
it is not distracting. I am glad they did it that way. So it's weird.
I'm in Kim's court on this one.
I mean, it's not, I guess, not bad distracting, but some of the eye colors are very kind of intense and unreal.
They are intense.
So the blue guy with the red eyes is not intense and
Oh, those are his real
yeah.
eyes. That's
Yeah,
actually.
oh, yeah.
He's not wearing
Those aren't even
contacts.
contacts.
Yeah, he's the only one.
He's
So
a
it's just a little,
Mickelson.
it's a
You
little
never know with
further
Mickelson,
suspension of
you know?
disbelief. That's all.
Yeah,
He
you
never
don't know
ever
with
sleeps.
Mickelson, like kind of what they've got going on behind the eyes. So we've got,
Let's hide them under color.
so we've got our huge Star Destroyer attached to a temple right now, and the fact that the witches seem to have spent their time in the galaxy, like I talked about, Jedi temples, Jedi having built temples everywhere. Jedi's built temples everywhere, but they're all somewhat different. The witches seem to have built these platforms with the pylons everywhere, and they use the same architect for all of them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's not as
everyone-
many of them, so they only had to, you
Yeah,
had to
there-
use the one architect they had.
Right, all of them are
I'm annoyed as an architect that I wasn't considered for any of it.
Yeah.
As also an architect, I am also annoyed.
Yeah, so I like this, where she's saying, like, we've got them beat, we don't need to worry about them, they're just, a small number of Jedi, we shouldn't have a problem. Thrawn's like, I've seen many Imperial, higher up, make the same mistake about rebels time and time again. It's
I
like
mean,
never.
that was the entirety of season 4 was him sighing loudly in the direction of the officers, Imperial officers.
Right. It's like, never underestimate a very dedicated, small, armed rebellion,
Yeah.
But Thrawn says with one Jedi, is he talking about Anakin or Vader?
Ahsoka.
I think he's talking about
about
Ezra
Ahsoka?
when Ezra, because at the end of Rebels, Ezra was the one that sent him off to the other galaxy in the first place.
Right.
I think that's who he's
Well,
talking.
that's fair, but I think he thinks Ahsoka is the more formidable foe,
Mhm.
knowing Ahsoka's master.
Yeah, but
Right. He makes
said-
several references to that about her having been Anakin's, and obviously.
and Galen talks about Anakin, and I mean, like, a lot of Anakin talk here. And they talked about Luke
Really interesting
Skywalker tonight.
because I mean the bulk of his experience clearly was with Vader. So
Legends.
he's referring to Anakin, but really he means Vader.
Yes.
Is there anything, and this is just a question, I guess I don't know. Was there ever anything in the books that refers to interactions with Luke anywhere?
Between Luke and
The Thrawn
Thrawn?
books?
And Thrawn, because Luke is alive and well in this timeline, right?
I mean, that wouldn't have happened at this point because Thrawn's been in this other galaxy for the whole time. I mean, he's
Right.
been there since before Luke really was a thing.
Yeah, and Ezra
they
and Luke
missed
are the
Endor and
same
all
age,
that.
so Luke wasn't a threat
He wasn't
by
there
the
yet.
time Thrawn got thrusted out of his original galaxy.
Was
Yeah,
he
now
just a
there's-
farm boy?
Alliteration.
I mean, there is definitely going to be a question about, when if Thrawn, since we're not at the end of the episode yet, if or when Thrawn kind of makes it back to his home galaxy, Luke is an issue at that point,
Yeah.
because we are post Return of the Jedi here. So yeah, so Morgan Elsbeth is now full on getting to claim her destiny as a
Full
full
witch.
witch of Dathomir,
Mhm.
and she gets a cool sword because you got to get a
Mhm.
cool sword.
Dude, the sword is so cool.
It's a cool new makeup job.
Yeah.
Does she
You
get
know
the
that-
swirly wind effect that the other ones get? Or
I don't know if she gets the swirly wind, but it's all the kind of the tattooy.
She's got something with shadows.
They're like the face burn touch.
Yeah.
I mean, she based on the conversation we had earlier, of course, her eye color changes. She gets
Mhm.
black eyes,
Ooh.
because she can't just have normal eyes now.
No.
But yeah,
So and I love all the green that they're using in this. It's very reminiscent of the Dathomir witches back in Rebels. That they all had the green etherealness. So
Very Disney, also.
I mean,
yeah,
isn't
just
it
kind of
established
keeping with
that-
that theme.
Isn't it established that the witches are still? I mean, all the mystical, magical things. It all still comes down to the Force in this universe, doesn't it? I mean, aren't the witches of Dathomir still just tapping into the Force in a different way?
I think so.
I don't know, but I'm thinking if everyone says you have to have watched Rebels to watch Ahsoka, then I think you have to have watched Clone Wars to watch Ahsoka, because they're bringing in a lot from that as well.
They
No,
are.
sure.
They are.
And I am not brushed up on my Clone Wars.
Nah.
I did the truncated version, aka like watching, the definitive episodes, which skips like half of most of season 1, but they do refer back to to Clone Wars quite a bit, but not to the extent that they draw from Rebels itself.
Yeah.
So you
I've
don't have
seen-
to be as knowledgeable in Clone Wars.
I've seen the whole Clone Wars series. I watched the whole series through twice, but I have a pretty terrible memory, so I don't know.
The
My
slowest,
recall is minimal.
the slowest hovering moving space
Oh, right.
ever.
I was like, you guys, you apparently aren't in a hurry.
No.
This is not a scooter
should
chase, though,
be-
so we should be happy about this.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're being very, very nice to keep following these people or to stick with these people. I mean, it's like, didn't we establish last episode that they know they're under a time crunch? It's like
Yeah.
we literally are looking at a ticking clock of like, okay, we are trying to get there before Thrawn leaves. Thrawn now has the means, the method, and the opportunity to be leaving, and we are now spending our time crawling along these little turtle creatures.
Well,
So
it's
I have
the
a-
new. It's the Gandalf Ahsoka, so she needs her turtle hobbits to come along with her.
Yes,
Indeed.
it is Ahsoka the White. Yep.
Yeah.
Quick question, circling back to the whole idea of the Force in this galaxy.
Uh-huh.
They continually call it magic,
Yes.
and they credit it as magic.
Yep.
So, but there is a connection to the galaxy that we're used to, and it was called the Force
Right.
in that galaxy, right?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I think it's a question of like, is everything all just versions of that? That I mean,
From a
I actually ended up
perspective.
using it as the title of last week's episode because I ended up using the term Force wielder so much because that's the thing is like, we've only talked about in terms of Jedi and Sith, but we've got what Balian is, which you said he's not a Jedi, but he's not a Sith. We've got the witches, and that's the thing. It's like they're all people tapping into the Force in different ways. So that's why, to me, the best thing would be to go with the generic term Force wielders. I call last week's episode the Force wielder drinking game because, if you took a drink every time I used that term last week, you'd be drunk pretty quickly.
Nice.
Yeah, so I mean, for me, the witches, I mean, the reason I brought it up is particularly with that scene is because if what they're doing is tapping into the Force in a different way or using it in a different way, I mean, they did something which we had never seen really a Force wielder do, which is create something out of nothing. I mean, literally, like, Jedi here, we're seeing like, almost a parallel thing here. It's like, we see how Jedi use the Force. I mean, and their manifestation of it physically in terms of a weapon is building a lightsaber, is building this created device. Whereas what the witches did is they used whatever they're tapping into to physically manifest an object
out
out
of
of
the
nothing.
Well, I mean, the Emperor could make Force lightning.
Yeah.
I mean, he made something out of nothing. So,
Kind of. It's still energy. I mean, it's creating energy. It's just moving energy around. But yeah, I mean, they
That's what they
created
would
a
be
physical object. It's just different. I mean, my point is just it's just if it is all just different ways that different people are tapping into that same resource differently. It's definitely a brand new and different way of doing it. And since the witches may be around for a while, we may see more instances of them using their powers in that way of like literally creating physical objects,
And there might be a scene on the cutting room floor of the Emperor using Force lightning to create a burger and a shake.
Sure.
We just don't know.
Mhm.
Because he never got out of that
If he had that capability, he would have created plastic surgery, but
So,
but this was very cool. This was very cool seeing Ezra build his lightsaber. I mean,
where
how
did
often?
he get the Kyber crystal?
Well, I mean, there probably were some on the ship there. I would assume. I mean, it is a Jedi's ship, so you
Sure.
would assume that they would have potentially some there.
A small stash.
Yeah, small stash. I mean, it is obviously a very extremely valuable resource, But you'd think, like, for with it being Ahsoka's ship, there's always the possibility she needs a new lightsaber and another lightsaber, so she would probably have a stash of them to be able to build a new lightsaber if she needs to. So, but it was very cool seeing Ezra build it. I mean, because how often have we ever actually seen on screen a lightsaber be built in live action? We've seen it in animation, but we've really not seen that in live action that much.
Wasn't there was a cut scene, right, of Luke doing it?
Yes,
Return of the Jedi.
in the very beginning of Return of the Jedi. Yeah, there was. I don't know if they ever filmed it or it was just in the script. I think it might have just been a scripted scene that it describes him building his lightsaber. I don't know if it was actually filmed or not.
It would have
yeah,
been neat to see, but
that was
it
supposed to be the opening. The opening was not
Mhm.
supposed to have just been 3PO and R2 walking in the desert there. It was
Mhm.
supposed to be like a nighttime scene where described in the script was Luke kind of huddled over building his new lightsaber.
Sure, yeah, that would have been neat to see, but it also would have slowed the story down.
Right.
You can see why they cut
A little
it.
bit.
Well, if that was one of the first things you saw, I think you would have been really confused.
Yeah.
So
I love this conversation between the two of them. I mean, a whole arc of this series so far has been the relationship between the two of them, and the whole master and apprentice. We've had several episodes with the titles and the story. The theme was definitely masters and apprentices, and they've always had this kind of contentious relationship. And now this is her first experience really with Ahsoka the White, who is now has a whole new attitude, and a whole new outlook on life. And she's basically her having confronted her issues about her master, several episodes ago. She now has a whole new perspective on her role as a master to an apprentice.
I get this episode kind of cemented something that I had a feeling about, that this series may have been mistitled, because it seems to be more about Sabine.
Yeah.
no, it's not.
So
I
I mean,
know.
this season, yes, but maybe the
But I mean, we know
continuation of it.
Ahsoka, and I mean, we only know Sabine. Like, I don't know.
But
It should
the
be
arc, her
Ahsoka
arc,
and Sabine.
Yeah.
the character
I mean,
arc,
really, it's Rebels season 5.
It really
Yes.
is.
Absolutely. I think the character arc for me from start to finish, though, is much more obvious and much more apparent from beginning, to her actually showing, spoiler alert, Force abilities.
Right. Right. That's the thing, is when like Kim said, I mean, the best way to watch this, if you could watch it as one long continuous movie, the arc of the characters really do make sense once you get here. A lot of the stuff that all season we've been like, okay, this doesn't make any sense. We don't see where this is going. This doesn't really seem to gel. It really all comes together in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see what these guys looked like without all the CGI there, without the ship, and like during rehearsals and the volume and such. It's like, ah!
Yeah, I mean,
Just doing like these weird X squats and such.
Right, all in green bodysuits.
Here's the word I'm going to be overusing tonight: epic. I mean,
Yes.
there's so many epic moments in this. I mean, just having, 2.5. I'm going to call it 2.5 Jedi at this point. Having 2.5 Jedi, and then the Jedi droid. I mean, doing things like this, like lifting up, holding on to the spaceship. But then Sabine getting to take over. It's like, okay, we're against 2 TIE fighters. We're not in great.
Who taught her to fly?
Like,
so
oops.
She just like puts the whole ship into gear. Really kicks the engines and just rams them and takes them out.
And technically, the Imperials taught her to fly. I think she learned all of her finest moves from Hera, but
yeah, and I love her line coming out of here. I mean, it's just classic.
Well, I got 2 things about this. One, having flown the Millennium Falcon last week at Disney World, it's not as easy as it looks.
Here
I
we
flown
go.
it as well.
Yeah.
And
2,
hold on, I got to point out this line. I mean, she just walks out, and it's so like right out of the cartoon, right out of her character from Rebels. To just she just basically destroyed their ship, and she walks out and goes, "Got him."
Yeah, yeah. I didn't do much better. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Well, you didn't have Hera training you, so
Yeah, that's true.
I wanted to be the driver so bad too.
Yeah.
I was the driver, but I did not make a good showing. I really didn't. I was awful at it.
Hondo was not pleased.
I know when I did it in LA, I was in the back. I was in one of the back things where I just punched a button the entire time.
Yeah.
So for him, this is acceptable. The TIE fighters got lost, but his whole objective is he didn't need to take them out. He could care less. He's
just
thinking
needs to
Want to
slow
know
them
where
down.
they were at.
yeah, he's thinking tactics and strategy. He doesn't need to take them out. It's not a vengeance thing for him. He doesn't need them to die. He just needs them to get stuck here. He just needs them to not be in his way and to not be obstacles for him. Anything that slows them down, and in this case took out their ship, that slows them down, is like, yeah, I lost TIE fighters, I lost troopers, but they're not going to catch up to me, and I'm getting out of here,
So
He's like ground
why can't he leave right now?
I think they're still loading everything, aren't they?
I thought they'd said earlier that the
Little
loading
bit
was
later.
complete.
Oh, gotcha.
Right.
Little
They're-
bit later.
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Well,
Okay.
Well, because I think the loading was complete, but then they were waiting for the ring to come back down, I think, right? Or is that slightly later?
I think it's there. Maybe the witches need to get on board. I don't know.
No, the ring's not there yet.
The ring's
Take
not
a
there
while.
yet.
No,
walk
I think
up
the
there.
ring is in transit.
Of course, the real reason is dramatic tension, but
I mean,
I was
yes.
gonna say, you know, that Star Destroyer can go to the ring, and that would remove all doubt that they could get onto the Star Destroyer, but it would make a terrible finale.
yes, it would. Yes, it
I mean,
would.
we're definitely moving at the speed of plot here. Both, from
Yeah.
both forces, from both sides, we're moving at the speed of plot. Things are going as quickly as they need to go for us to have the story that we want to tell here.
Right.
So I want to know more about this Enoch guy because he's totally intriguing to me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
So
They were waiting for the ring to. They
Low
couldn't leave because of the ring.
down into the atmosphere. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so they're still on the tower. I see.
Because of
Yeah.
reasons.
because of reasons.
because of reasons. Yes.
Reasons
Yeah,
to
I
be-
agree, Steve. I want to know more about Enoch too, especially since they got a terrific actor to play him, Wes Chatham from The Expanse. But
Yeah, so-
he doesn't really get to do a whole lot
Right.
in this.
I keep worrying about these characters because I kind of feel like Lucy, and Charlie Brown with the football. It's like there are things where we think it's important and we want to put all this importance and all these, attachments to the value of a character, and it may not be important. It may just be completely incidental. I love that she got her helmet back, because
Yes.
they had it in the ship. So
Must
She was having to do a lot of deflecting with her gauntlets, and now she
Right.
can, one of my favorite things we were talking about the character arcs and stuff is when you first meet Sabine at the beginning of this series, she's clearly still traumatized all these years later. We were making comments. She's not exploding things. She's not as Sabine as we remember her from Rebels, but as this last episode and this one kind of come full. She's coming full circle. We're seeing more explosions and more of the Sabine we knew and loved.
And I didn't catch if we've already hit that moment or if not, it comes later, where in dialogue they do describe why that is. I mean, that basically why she was in the state she was in, because I forgot that in between the last time we saw her in Rebels and now Mandalore fell. I mean, basically,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, they were
Her
talking
parents
about
died
that
and-
with
Her entire family.
Huyang.
I mean, she was from a high-ranking family. She was very enmeshed in the world of Mandalore. She was a high up person, in a family there, and it's all gone. It's all wiped out. That Mandalore is now in the state that we see it in the Mandalorian. That it's a completely devastated world.
Mm-hmm.
She lost everything. I mean, so she lost everything. Basically, the only people she had were Hera and Ezra.
Yeah.
That was so close.
I know it was an Indiana Jones moment.
It was
there.
like almost CG. Like,
Definitely.
that could have been weird.
Dispatch the Night Trooper.
Scooch.
I guess I'm adding emotion to it. There's no emotion. It's Thrawn. Dispatch the
Yeah.
Night.
Dispatch.
Do the
Yeah,
next
it's just
one.
deep sighs. Just
Right. Thrawn does not express emotion, just exasperation.
Exactly,
Yes,
because
that is his only emotion. I mean, you can see some joyous smirks on him, but you never see him actually fully smile.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Thrawn, the point of the character is that Thrawn is always the smartest guy in the room, and being the smartest guy in the room is exasperating.
it is.
It's
You should know
frustrating.
Jefferson.
What's that? I should know. Yeah, I sometimes know, not often, but
Epic.
you haven't seen some of the rooms I've been in.
This is just the Jedis, and oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We
This
have
is
not
great
seen
stuff here.
anything like this in live action since episode 2. I mean,
Yeah.
we've not seen 3 Jedi in their prime.
Some
fighting
of these
a war force.
moves,
2.5.
Yeah.
like
Not in live action.
that one right there, where she
Yes,
just forces
that one was-
them to her lightsabers. Oh my god.
That was a
That was
good
a
one.
great-
That was a
great
good
shot.
one.
Great move.
Yeah, this is the most action we've seen of Jedi in their prime since episode 2.
Yeah,
I
so
agree.
they're like, that's a done deal. That's easy peasy.
The
Easy
wind is back. The
peasy
wind is back, Jefferson.
until
Yes, the wind is back.
Okay, I
It's
was
like witches
trying
do
to
their
figure out how
thing.
the subtitles changed to another language, and then I realized it's the witches incantation.
Yeah, the witches are muttering.
Thought you were having a stroke?
Well, I got worried because there was an episode that we did once, and I had not paid attention to the subtitles, and the subtitles were someone else's commentary on the episode.
Yeah, I remember that.
So we were doing audible commentary over something that had written commentary under it because I
Oh my
had not
God.
paid attention to where the subtitles had come from.
Well, I
That's
think
funny.
it's nice that they give us the translation of what the witches are saying. Because
That
then
is.
if we can get some fans in red sheets, we could give it a whirl ourselves and see if we can
Yep.
Ooh.
make the magic
Maybe
happen.
it's a real language, and
So
we'll
now
know.
we have answered one of the central questions of the entire series so far. What are the night troopers? And
This is what I thought they were going to do last time.
yep.
They killed him. I thought they were going to come back alive.
And I think it's possible that maybe we just didn't see them get resurrected. Maybe those troopers got resurrected later, or maybe they were just so superfluous at that point that they didn't care about resurrecting them. But now we get to see that it's the same thing that we saw with that one character Merrick earlier in the series.
I mean,
that this is a reincarnated individual.
the witches could have been taking a nap at that time, and he just didn't want to, wake them up.
But now we know that these are basically, they're not really night troopers, they're death troopers.
They're zombies.
I am glad
eat her brain.
Yeah, they are.
I'm glad they're not fast zombies.
Right. They're not fast zombies. Yeah,
Well, they're still not accurate. Half of them are like,
Right.
I don't even care. I don't even need a gun.
I
they're
noticed
assembling
that
zombies.
they. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, please go ahead.
So I noticed that they, at first when they kind of got up and you could hear all the zombie noises and the growling and the smacking and stuff, I was a little bit taken aback, like, oh, well, this is a new thing then,
Right.
because they weren't doing this before, but they actually seem to get faster and more alive or more, normal as they keep fighting. So I think that malaise kind of drops off after a while, and the green glow goes away too as they keep fighting. So it might just be the resurrection spell takes a minute for them to get there.
I was wondering if this was their first time being resurrected or not because of similar observances.
Well, and I think the fact that all of their armor is destroyed and taped up and all of the stuff that they have to just have been kept going and resurrected with the magic.
So we know that Morgan Elsbeth had the ring constructed, to take her over here. But had she had the foresight to know that the way she was coming back was by using it with a Star Destroyer, for it to specifically have the exact kind of coupling to connect it to a Star Destroyer?
She's like most vampire, like brain dead people that just follow and do whatever they say. I don't understand.
Yeah, so I mean the witches kind of gave her some insight, and I'm also assuming that she knew that Thrawn's Star Destroyer had been taken with him.
Right.
So whether she knew it was in a usable state or not,
But she could make an educated guess and be optimistic that the ship would still be there.
I mean, I guess it makes sense as to why it's that size, because as we noted when we first saw it, that's basically similar to the one that Obi-Wan Kenobi used with his starship.
You said how much bigger it was.
Yeah, in episode 2, that he had the same thing, that's how his starship was able to go to light speed, was it had to use that a much smaller version. So really all she did was just create a Star Destroyer sized version of that is capable of traversing galaxies,
but in a pretty gold color.
Yeah.
4 lightsabers.
That's
Stay
several
together.
orders of magnitude.
They're splitting the
of
party.
big cool.
Three Jedi, 4 lightsabers, and an eldritch I'm going to call it an eldritch witch sword.
Yes.
It's the shadow sword.
Yeah. Tell me again how we're not in Middle Earth.
Right.
Trust me, we're getting there. We are going full on Middle Earth by the time we get out of this episode.
So they called it the Sword of Talzin, like Mother Talzin.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. And that's from Clone Wars.
Okay.
Right. But that was in our galaxy. I call it our galaxy and their galaxy.
Yeah.
Like our galaxy that we've been in. But
yeah, so
somehow those are
speaking about
connected.
that galaxy and this galaxy, do you think maybe that's why Sabine has more force power here than she does in the other?
That's a really great point.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
That
That obviously never occurred to any of us. I thought it was just a show of her growth,
Maybe both.
But this is the first time she's actually shown force
Not
Right.
the
We saw her
Like,
trying, but we never saw
Not
her
the first
Trying
time.
to
It
succeed.
was with Shin. She pushed her back, but
Maybe
couldn't
maybe
hold her.
she's
Yeah, I
not
think it was
all
arguable whether she
Mandalorian.
actually did that
Maybe-
or not. Mhm.
I
maybe
don't
she's
think she did. I
Dathomirian
think
as well.
that was Ahsoka.
Yeah, I don't think she'd act. I think we've been working up to her actually having it, but I don't think she ever did until this episode.
I think she did with the Shin fight.
So yeah, we've got this unholy alliance between Thrawn and the witches. You know, I mean, basically he's getting them home. They're getting hit. You know, yeah. They got
And
Morgan
this is
here,
just
which is taking them
epic.
home.
She is really good.
Yeah.
And the
Well, and it's-
Empire.
And these guys, they were cool,
Yeah.
He's trying to eat her brain right there.
Yeah.
right?
Is it just me, or has Sabine lost her helmet more than any other Mandalorian we've ever seen?
Well, I mean, it's like the Spider-Man movies. You know, he always has to lose his mask for the big fight at the end because we
True.
have to see the actor's face.
Yeah.
Well, she's Mandalore and she has a Mandalorian helmet, and just like a Jedi that has a lightsaber, they lose their lightsabers all the time.
Constantly, yeah.
So it's just kind of
Yeah, but we just
Sometimes
haven't seen it with
sometimes
other
you have to lose a
Mandalorians. It's
hand as well.
Yeah.
Does she just have the weakest chin strap ever? Because I mean, we're talking just like put some.
I don't have a chin strap for my helmet.
no chin strap.
You
for
also don't
Melinda.
usually go into death-defying situations. You know.
I mean, I don't. So I think here, first of all,
Okay.
I like the
So her
kind of
actually bringing the lightsaber to herself, I believe that is the first actual time
Yes.
we've actually for sure, for real, confirmed, seen her use the Force.
Mhm.
I agree, and I think it was kind of that life or death situation type of thing too. That was the catalyst. So
Well, she helped open the door. She said Sabine help, and she was doing the Force with the door.
did she though?
So she used the
Did she?
Force
That's
there.
the thing. is that she thinks
She had her
did,
hand
but
out. That's
Yeah.
how you use the Force.
Yeah,
but
she's had her hand out.
That's how I use it.
I've been doing that. I've been doing that for
What I
50
do for
years.
the
It hasn't
doors.
worked for me yet.
Yeah, and it's like
I've
four.
been trying the same thing for decades, and it hasn't worked for me. I might think it did, but it didn't.
I do it for my
Right.
dogs.
But isn't it like when four people are carrying a box? Are all four people really helping, or is
Right.
one person slacking?
The couch.
Yeah, I think at that point there's no way to know for sure whether she actually did, because you had Ezra, you had Ahsoka, but her bringing the lightsaber to her, that
That was definitely
happened. There's no disputing that happened.
She was fighting with Shin, and Shin was like, "Oh, you're," and then she goes, "Oh, you're
I
not."
think she was startled. She
I think
thought,
so too.
Yeah,
I would agree that I don't think that actually happened at that point.
and I love this between Ezra and Sabine here because Kanan and Ezra did this all the time.
Oh, did they? Okay. See, I
Yeah.
haven't watched enough of Rebels to know that. So
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
kind of
no,
This was Kanan and Ezra's signature move. Was Kanan would throw Ezra.
Well, they threw the senator that one time. They just threw a civilian.
that's definite. We saw
And
that
then-
arc. We saw her arc. We saw his arc change. She
Yeah.
did that. So
Yeah.
And now
I
say
think
that's
her almost dying there by the hands of the Death Trooper thing was the catalyst.
I would say that's a heck of a leap, though. I mean, for her never having been able to do it up until that moment and trying to do it to grab
yeah.
the lightsaber.
Confidence.
Go from there to throwing Ezra. I mean, that's a heck of a leap. But I guess once she kind of made that leap, once she actually, no pun intended, once she bridged that gap, again, no pun intended. Once she was able to
Tender
finally
puns.
do it, she was able to really do it, and now it's
Sure,
it's
it's
a
like-
like you can do.
Oops, now
It's
she's
like
down to
learning
one.
how to.
And
It's
that's
like-
why she's got more kyber crystals on their ship.
It's
Right,
it's like
exactly.
learning how to ride a bicycle. Once you can't do it until you can do it.
Right. No, I agree. I think that's what it is. Is that she's taken so long trying to get there, and now that once she's got there, she's there.
This
She's
fight is
full-
epic.
Everything. Yeah, unbelievable.
Yes. As soon as she got that sword, I'm like, oh, she's gonna have a rematch against
Right.
Ahsoka.
Right. And the last time she did it, she was doing it
She had
with
that stick.
Spear, yeah.
with a
Yeah.
sword.
That's
Yeah,
Scar
she's
Spear.
even more formidable.
Yeah.
So I would have really actually liked to see a tremor in Sabine, even if she didn't notice herself, because it seems like all of a sudden she's got full force powers.
Right. She's tapped into the Force in a way she never
Yeah.
was before. Yeah.
Or the magic.
I would and she's been trying and trying and trying for a long time. So it would have been nice to see her like turn away and give up, but then see something kind of shift.
I mean, you could make an argument here that she's that much better with a lightsaber now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
She's visibly better with a lightsaber.
Yeah, she's doing better. And that was, I mean, I don't know how much they got into this in the actual film. So that was something they used to talk about a lot in the books and comic books and stuff, was that non-Jedi really couldn't use lightsabers, or they used them really badly. So if you did, you had to have the Force in order to be able to use a saber.
Both swords.
Ghostly whale.
Well, even I mean, the dark saber we know is special, but even
I was gonna say,
that
Din
when
Djarin kind of sucks at the Force.
it was really heavy and unwieldy,
Yes.
and that made a lot of sense to me from exactly what you're talking about, Jefferson.
Yeah.
But for somebody that with non-force abilities to all of a sudden just be able to really fight, pretty competently, that didn't make as much sense.
Sabine was able to wield the dark saber far better than Din ever could.
Yeah.
So, she always had maybe a little bit of a knack, but, she was...
Sabine also knew about the Force. Sabine believed in the Force. Din, until the beginning of The Mandalorian, had gone 30 plus years in his life, never even knew the Force existed.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the dark saber's though different than a lightsaber.
Mm-hmm. But still, I mean, he was someone who not only had no faith in it, but didn't even know about its existence. And then when he did know about its existence, didn't understand anything about it, didn't have any faith in it, didn't have any belief in it. Sabine at least believed in it and wanted to be able to use it,
Yeah.
She was at least raised in a world, where she knew about Jedi and knew about the Force and everything.
So why are they destroying the tower? Just because the Jedi are on it?
Burning, salting the ground. I mean, kind of just, he's burning the fields when his ships leave, so that no one can come back, Because
there are probably secrets in there that might be able to get them back somehow or tap into something, but
yeah, he's basically just salting the earth so that he's trying to take away any possibility that they have, or trying to help make sure that they're dead at that point, because he doesn't know that the ship's there.
Well, until now.
Yeah.
Because they start tracking it almost immediately. So
yeah, right.
I'm diverting all power to the engines now.
You should have done that like 20 seconds ago.
I did not expect them to be stranded, though.
Yeah.
I do love Thrawn's parting shot. And I don't remember ever somebody saying "open a channel," kind of Star Trek style to an enemy ship.
Yeah.
But I do love his parting shot about how
where he totally tries to we're tracking the Jedi shuttle here. It's coming right here, and open a channel, please. You're right. I don't remember hearing really that so much that way. But yeah, he takes his shot. He basically tries to undermine her confidence. I mean, we know that this is a Thrawn thing, is to getting to know his opponent.
Thrawn.
Yeah.
Like, this conversation is quintessential Thrawn. It's great. Perhaps now we get over shall. I knew you because I knew you all that stuff.
I like how we're all being quiet, but we can't.
We're like reading it. We're like, yeah, we just love this part.
And that's the thing, is the thing he doesn't know here is, this would, like a week earlier, this would have been a much more valuable technique against her, but he doesn't know that she's had this near-death experience where she reconciled all of her feelings with Anakin, and she's kind of now, she's past that. She had that crisis of faith in herself as to whether she could become Anakin, and now
long live the Empire. That's very Star Trek-y as well.
And the Empire's never been more colorful, has it? Look at all the blue and red.
But yeah, he has no idea that she has already faced and conquered that issue. It has no effect on her whatsoever.
It doesn't move her needle.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Ahsoka the gray, it would have affected. Ahsoka the white, it doesn't affect.
She's
at all.
Ahsoka the cool.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing gets her now.
And Thrawn also doesn't know that he's got a bit of a stowaway.
Right.
So the other thing, he calls her a Ronin.
Yes. Yeah. Good catch.
Cool.
Yeah. Like we've talked all along in the commentary on this show that how everything is very influenced by feudal Japan, but that's the most direct reference we've had. For those who don't know, a Ronin is basically what a Jedi or a shogun. Who has like
fallen samurai.
Failed
masterless samurai.
it's a samurai who has failed their master and is now just wandering masterless. You know, that it's basically it's a fallen warrior who no longer has a cause or no longer has anyone to follow. That's what a Ronin is. So it's a very apt
great dig.
I mean, as someone
Yeah.
who left
Great
the
dig.
order. You know, she left the order. She stopped being a Jedi. She has no master. She is a Ronin.
No,
I
look,
have so many questions.
What
they'll come back to him in a minute. Look at the turtle hobbits even dress like hobbits. Look at
They
the
totally
little
do.
coats
It's
and-
great.
So
What
how
do
do
they
they
call
tell
Balin?
them that Ezra is not there anymore, but still alive? Like,
Force connection. I don't know.
How do they understand what R2D2 is saying?
yeah, we don't have this. And then
We don't have a
Owl.
babble
Owl.
fish.
For
Yeah,
owl.
there you go. I like it. Babelfish.
Yeah, but I
And
mean,
the owl made it through to this
That
galaxy.
galaxy.
The Morai. Do you think it was an actual? Do you think it was?
so
the
here's
Morai?
the beginning of what I would say is just like Return of the King, where you've got like 87 endings. You know, at the end
Right.
of
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings. We are 100% full on into Lord of the Rings right now. 'Cause
Yeah,
we
yeah.
had-
Toby,
We had the
Tom-
shoot leaving.
He's like,
we had them.
I'm your leader.
Yeah,
right.
he now has an army.
Her,
You know,
her band of orcs. Tell me again how we're
I-
not in Middle Earth.
yeah.
Right.
This is ending number 3. Just I'm going to go ahead and count. This is ending 3. Here's
Now,
ending number 4.
Four.
That
I
was a
admit, I
war
had
decided
forgotten
Sauron.
about Shin and Balin throughout this entire episode until the end. I was like, oh yeah, these guys, they're still wandering this planet.
Did he carve that? I mean, that's the thing. It looks just
No,
like
that's the Norse gods.
I mean,
That's the father, the sister. That's right.
and he
father, the
kind of
sister, and the
waves to
brother.
Mount
Yeah.
Doom here because you can see Mount Doom in the distance. You know.
Oh
Sure,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Tell me again how we're not in Middle Earth.
Oh, I'm not
Absolutely.
telling you we're not in Middle Earth. We are in Middle Earth. That was ending number 4. This is now ending number 5. You know,
Like
This
this
episode
scene,
just
this
keeps
shot
ending.
right here.
So
Yeah,
what
great
planet
shot.
is this? Is this Dathomir?
Dathomir.
That's
Dathomir, yep.
Mhm. Yeah, so we're now at the home of the witches because that's where he's being welcomed right now. You know.
right. That's where he's going to establish his power base.
Approaching
Right.
Dathomir.
Yep, approaching Dathomir. You know, the witches are home.
I wonder what their angle is. That's what I can't wait to find out. What,
I mean, we still don't know what
the
the
I
Alien
think those are coffins.
Yep. Now we
I
know
think
that
they're
it's a whole bunch
reviving
of,
their sect.
yeah, we now know that it's an army. He's now got an
It's a
army
cult.
of the undead.
Yep.
Would
And
this
he-
be the same mystery army thing that Palpatine had?
I
Hopefully
don't know.
not.
So
It's something different.
So we're now at ending 6, an Imperial ship arriving, you know, here on the flagship.
Right.
It's like who could be there? Who's going to end
So
up?
this, for those who haven't seen Rebels, this is also 100% classic Ezra move. You know, his thing was infiltrating. Like he collected helmets in his little
and he
home.
always stole
He
the
had all the
ships
different
and-
helmets. He loved dressing up as other characters, I guess.
Troopers,
Other.
I mean.
Well, he had a flair for the dramatic.
He
Yeah.
did.
Like,
He did.
so-
So the fact that he was able to, you know,
I love how Chopper recognizes him before.
Yeah, like
he
he can't
walks by.
smell or anything, but yeah, he's got
Right.
it down.
Yeah. But wouldn't it have
Confidence.
just been easier to call over the radio and say, "Hey, it's Ezra"? You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Don't shoot me out of the sky.
I mean, wouldn't it have been like, oh, he has an older code or a different thing? You know, I mean,
right? Or
they
you
had to
know,
have
why
some
didn't he
communication.
like, other than dramatic tension type of thing?
Dramatic
Why
tension.
didn't he have the helmet off when he exited the ship? You know.
One of my favorite lines in Rebels was when Zeb goes, Ezra, you got this helmet?
Yes. Yes. It's like I already got that one, but this one's way cooler. But way cooler than the one I've got. You know, Zeb looked all sad.
I bet that night trooper helmet smelled bad inside.
Yeah, I bet it
Oh.
was stinky in there. Yeah.
And I mean,
Yeah.
her acting right there is so epic
Mhm.
because, like, that was almost her kid.
Mhm.
Yeah, she practically raised it.
Ending
So where are we up to now? On our
Six.
ending
7. We are
scorecard?
now on our 7th ending.
Okay. Ending 7. Here we are back with the Turtle Hobbits.
And we're not
Speaking
even on
of
the
Zeb,
extended
I'm sad we
DVD.
didn't get any
Mm.
Zeb in this.
Yeah, I
Last
kind of was
season.
hoping it would have made sense for Zeb to be standing there with them.
It really
Mhm.
would have.
Well, there was a lot of rumor that his appearance in The Mandalorian was a kind of a test run for this.
Yeah.
but never
Yeah.
showed up.
No.
Must have been a horrible test run.
Yeah. I thought it looked great, but
I
wasn't
thought so
Yeah,
too.
Yeah.
Imagine being in that costume or any part of it if you had to.
But the irony of the fact that we ended Rebels with, Ezra out there and them stuck here.
Yeah.
And now
Yeah.
we
just flipped
completely flipped it. Ezra's got Sabine achieved her aim that, that Ezra got back, which was her goal all along, is that Ezra got back, but now they're stuck,
Right.
Wait,
Plus,
whose
they
aim-
just
whose
traded
aim did
3
you say that
characters
was?
for one.
Whose aim did you say that was?
It's Sabine's.
Mhm.
Because this is a show about Sabine.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Well, it's Rebel Season 5. It's Rebel Season 5.
Mhm.
Rebel Season 5, guest starring Ahsoka.
Right.
Yes.
No.
Yeah, he's where he needs to be. So are we. I knew that she was going to say that. I knew she's now folding the arms. She's back to folding the arms, but she's folding the arms positively, where she always folded her arms negatively before.
Right.
Mhm.
It was always her me. She's upset about things folding her arms. Now I'm at peace.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Still
What needs
folding
to
my
happen
arms,
will
though.
happen.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was that, Jefferson?
Still folding her arms, though.
She's still
Yep.
folding her arms, but now she's folding her arms positively, I would say.
Okay.
She's now folding her arms in acceptance and acknowledgement and saying, hey, where we need to be, the Force will provide, we will figure it out. She is at peace with the universe and all things.
Sure. And
So what do you
under
think?
her poncho, she's crossing her fingers that they get a season 2.
Right.
Yeah, I think we would have to get a season 2 at this point. I mean, with everyone stuck here, with Balin and Shin and
Oh,
them
yeah.
all stuck here, we have to get a season 2.
Yeah.
Well, I think
Probably
it's
gonna.
oh, good.
I was gonna say it's probably gonna be a little bit because of the writer and actor strikes and such.
Definitely.
But it's like, but
I think
Guys,
that's going to push everything back because the assumption has been is that the next step is the movie, but I don't know. I still think the way this is set up is we still have to have another season to get everyone back together. Because we also have to get everyone back from here. We have to integrate Skeleton Crew, which is coming out at some point.
It's
We're
supposed to have
probably
been
gonna have another-
November, so
Huh?
who knows? It was supposed to have been November, I thought.
Yeah, it's not. It's not.
It's not going to be. So now we're like living in the old times where we
Mhm.
had to wait 3 years
Sure.
to figure out what's
Fuck.
going to happen.
Force Ghost Anakin.
Force Ghost.
I'm going to call that ending 8.
Yeah. So as made the comment, we're kind of at the point now where it makes sense to have the young Anakin as the remastered Force Ghost instead of old Anakin as the Force Ghost.
Well, I think we
So-
established that with the remastered episode, 6. So
Yeah.
We haven't seen that Force Ghost since Return of the Jedi.
right. Well, and that's now been
special edition.
replaced. If you watch Return of the Jedi now, it's no longer that Force Ghost. It's now
Correct. And now it's starting to make sense. Anakin likes his younger Force Ghost face. So there
No.
Or
It
Sebastian
makes
Shaw.
sense because Anakin was good.
Right.
Darth Vader was bad.
Right.
Sure.
He turned from the dark side, so now he's a Force Ghost as his good self.
Right. The Force Ghost should be Anakin before he turned to Darth Vader.
Totally
Yeah.
should.
Well, hold on, really quick. There was a non-mechanical Darth Vader. Like
Yeah,
Anakin
for
before
about
he
3
was
days,
melted became
Mhm.
Darth Vader. So it's not just the black suited guy.
Sure.
Right.
Like when he got his crazy red eyes, which
Right.
by the way, like
He was Darth Vader for about 3
what,
days.
episode
He
3.
killed a
was it?
bunch of younglings and killed everyone in the temple. Yeah.
Yeah. What was it? Episode 3 that the
Yeah.
World Between Worlds that was amazing.
Yes. Yes.
I think Hayden Christensen completely blew me away with all of that. I think he really made up for a lot of lost time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So prior to this show, my big prediction, my number one big prediction for this show going into this show was that the way they were going to use Anakin was as Force Ghost Anakin, and we kept not getting it. We kept getting every other way. We got a recording, we got a near-death experience Anakin, and literally the last shot of the entire show was we got Force Ghost Anakin.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Michael got his Force Ghost.
Yeah, and presumably he'll be there in season 2 to give her advice and
I mean, it would make sense,
let her
'cause I
have
think-
conversations.
Yeah,
as we
because
move
there's
the
no
plot
reason. I
forward.
mean, that's who he would be the Force Ghost to. Is
Right.
just as Obi-Wan was the Force Ghost to Luke, and Yoda was there for him as well. That Anakin being there for Ahsoka makes total sense.
So have
Well-
you guys been speculating at all about what's going to happen in season 2? Because there's got to be a season to. This
the
was
big
not
speculation up until this point. I mean, it didn't necessarily. There's never been any talk about a season 2. The main
Mhm.
speculation had been that all of this was leading into Dave Filoni's
movie.
movie,
Yeah.
which would potentially be Thrawn as the big enemy and Thrawn, heir to the Empire, basically, or a new take on heir to the Empire, basically, and because Filoni's movie is supposed to be the convergence of all the different series that have been
Exactly.
taking place in the same 5 years post Return of the Jedi timeline.
Yep.
So,
Mhm.
because also remember, when you think about timeline here, Ahsoka is still pre Book of Boba Fett. So her scenes in Book of Boba Fett, where she's at Luke's training ground, and we see Baby Yoda, Baby Yoda's
Grogu.
training. When we see Grogu's training, Ahsoka's there. That's in the future.
So I heard, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I need confirmation. I heard that this was linear. This was after season 3 of Mandalorian.
No, it can't
No.
be.
That would be tough, right?
It can't be because we saw her on the mission of her still looking, like the series started with her looking for Morgan Elsbeth, which is what she was doing immediately after Mandalorian season 2. So this is still, all of this has to be taking place during or pre Book of Boba Fett. I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's how it lines
There's got to
up.
be a timeline.
Because also, I think I'd have to go back and watch. I had meant to kind of look back on Boba Fett. I'm pretty sure in Book of Boba Fett, when you think back of her appearing in Book of Boba Fett, she's very serene, she's very calm, and I'm pretty sure she's in the Ahsoka the White outfit.
Yeah, I think I need to go back and look for that, because I think there's some weird continuity things that I'm trying to put into place to see where this is going next.
Yeah, the her at Luke's temple, or her at Luke's training, with Grogu's training, is the her that we see her turn into over the course of this season.
That's a good point, but at the same time, that makes the narrative really complicated, which is why I tend to not buy that. Because why do it that way? What is gained by?
Well, I think part of it
the
is
timeline more confusing than it needs to be.
Well, because the way that they wanted to establish it is that Book of Boba Fett and Din Djarin's scenes with Grogu at that point at the Jedi Temple, there's been several years of training at that point. There's been a several year gap between the end of Mandalorian season 2 and those scenes in Book of Boba Fett.
Okay.
So he's been training. He's been training with Luke for a couple years at that point.
So this article says Ahsoka episode 7 confirms the series has moved beyond Mando season 3.
Right. That's what I'm just reading.
I don't see how that's possible. I mean, I would like to know what they're citing as how
know.
that.
Lucasfilm has confirmed that Ahsoka at some point runs concurrent with the Mandalorian season 3.
Interesting. I don't see how that works when you look at her in Book of Boba Fett, because her in Book of Boba Fett is the serene Jedi that she is here.
Well, maybe she's just really moody.
So maybe Grogu's going to come and rescue them. We don't know who's going to come rescue them off that planet.
Sure. But that's the thing. I think now the way this series ended, I think we have to assume that there's going to be a season 2, because I don't see them. Go ahead.
There's too many timelines. There's too many stories to wrap up properly in a single movie.
I agree.
It's going to get too confusing.
More importantly, starting a movie at this point, I think would be a huge mistake, because a movie is going to have a much larger audience than this TV series has had. It has to. Yeah. And trying to explain everything that's going on to a movie audience who won't have seen any of this would just be way too difficult.
But I do think Thrawn is still the movie. I think the ultimate.
Why would it be about Mandos? Mandos is his big thing. I mean,
well, I still think the ultimate. I still think the ultimate thing for the movie is Thrawn as the big bad for the movie. I still think that's all of this is leading up to that. I think we have to have at least one more season of Mandalorian, at least one more season of the Ahsoka, and then we've got Skeleton Crew. And I think all of that puts all the pieces in place to lead into the movie.
Well, I thought we had another season of Andor as well.
Yep.
Yes, but that's a different time period.
Okay, so what is Balin doing? Why is he looking out in those mountains?
Because they're pretty.
Yeah, we have never known.
They all thought they saw something, or is that the world within the world? Is he going to time travel? Is he going to try to go back and maybe destroy Luke Skywalker?
That sounds
Or-
like that's too much of a
sounded
Star
like
Trek
fanfiction.
plot. Yeah, that's a Star Trek plot. That's not a Star Wars
Well, I
plot.
don't know
Well,
about a Star
and-
Trek plot, but
and
that sounds like
let's-
Time
fan
travel?
fiction and not what they would actually do, you know?
More
let's-
importantly,
let's-
though, I mean, the answer to the question is he's not going to do anything because unfortunately the actor's gone.
Exactly.
They're
And
all
they-
talking about a replacement, though.
yeah,
Have
but they've talked lately. They
That's a
blame it
bummer.
on the failure of the Han Solo movie, which I think is nonsense, but we're not going to get into that. Kathleen Kennedy is really gun shy about recasting the characters now. She really doesn't like recasting anybody. Plus, I think it would be kind of disrespectful to recast him, to be
Yeah.
honest.
I would say it's
So-
more likely, which is sad, that, you know, at the way this ended, I got very sad because I was like, yeah, I think that's just gonna be a plot line that they just drop at that
They just
point.
have
I
to
mean,
drop
I,
it. Yeah.
I think whatever they were gonna do with him, they'll just transfer it to Shin or some other character, you know?
The only thing I could see working is if they were to do something like what they did for General Ross in the Marvel movies. The actor who'd been playing General Ross died,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and they replaced him, but they replaced him with a megastar. They replaced him with Harrison Ford,
Yeah.
and so that's the only way they can make this work. Is if they're going to replace Ray Stevenson, they have to get somebody huge to do it, some amazing megastar to do it. And I was racking my brain, and I cannot think of anyone
Interesting.
who could step in. I can't think
Sean
of a
Connery's
single-
not available anymore.
exactly. And yeah, Sean Connery's. Everyone I was thinking of was too old,
Yeah.
or gone, or also
I'm
gone.
just bummed,
Somebody-
yeah, because it was like ending 5 or 6, and I'm like, okay, yeah, Balin's looking out at Mountain Doom in the distance there, or whatever, with the king statue. I mean, it literally, I like watching this, going like, when did we switch to a whole nother saga? I mean, like Balin is literally operating in a completely different franchise than everyone else at that point.
Yeah.
Well, they were setting up spin-off series for each one of those.
Yeah.
Each one of those endings was a spin-off series.
Sure.
But I will say, I think Liev Schreiber might be able to pull it off.
That's what they were saying.
Interesting. I can see that.
I did hear that name, and I was like, maybe. But I also it's too bad that we never got even hints as to what that stuff was. These
Yeah, we
these
never
kind of mystery
understood
box
Balin's motivation. I mean,
things. They always
speculated
feel a little
endlessly
too
on the
J.J.
show.
Abrams for me.
yeah, we
Mhm.
discussed it, and we discussed endlessly on the show here. I mean, what is Balin's motivation? We've never found out, and now, unfortunately, I was really hoping we would get there in this
Right.
show, because I knew that there's, the likelihood of them actually answering it without him is, gets the chances decrease, and it's like, okay, I don't want us to ever go without, never getting the answer to what was Balin's motivation.
Yep. I agree.
It's likely that Shin's going to find him dead in a rock fall or something, and we'll have to move on.
Yeah,
Or
that
as
could be
he's-
the
as
speed
he's
of plot
dying.
That'd
answer
be
to that.
horrible.
Yeah. I could see that being the speed of plot resolution to that.
Right.
I think he's
Well,
gonna somehow he's gonna
we-
sacrifice himself and give all the information to Shin to even though he seemed to cast her off.
A little
Yeah.
bit.
Maybe it was
Yeah.
a way
A lot
to
of it.
protect her as he went to meet his fate, and then we'll kind of give her the key to whatever. I'm sure they can retcon this just
Yeah.
fine.
Hopefully,
Well,
they'll
now she's got an army, so
But let me ask you guys this. So after I watched this, I actually like the Morgan Elsbeth character, and with all the coffins, with all of the transporting all of the dead Dathomiri witches back to our
Galaxy.
our galaxy,
The home galaxy.
yeah, I have a feeling that Morgan is not dead. I have a feeling that Morgan's actually going to be the key to getting back.
but she is
Because-
back on that building that got destroyed.
Well,
Yeah.
That big tower got destroyed.
Yeah,
but-
Emperor Palpatine survived worse.
yeah.
He
I-
survived a
again,
lot worse.
Darth-
she's
Darth
I
Maul
think they're
survived a
all
lot.
undead at a certain point. I think that's
could-
kind of
yeah.
the secret to what they're about.
To the witches in general,
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what they do. We saw in Maul episodes, we saw in a Rebels episode. There's the Dathomiri witches seem to be immortal in their own way.
Yep.
Well, yeah, we have no idea how old those 3 women are,
Sure.
You know?
So I'm going to go out on a limb here.
Okay.
I've established multiple times on this show and talking about, what are the things that we all like in Star Trek? What are our favorite things? And my favorite thing, very stated multiple times, is Jedi in their prime. It's why for me the best movie will be and will always be Return of the Jedi. It was really, up until the prequels, was the only time we ever got to see a Jedi close to their prime or getting into their prime. That is my favorite thing in Star Wars, is Jedi in their prime. In terms of live action, I'm going to call this episode the best done hour of live action Star Wars ever.
Ooh.
Given your criteria that you just gave us.
Yeah, based solely on my subjective, what makes Star Wars for me, what I love about Star Wars, this is by far the best hour of live action, because that's the thing. I mean, Rebels and Clone Wars had some epic, Jedi in their prime action there and everything.
Absolutely.
But based as a live action production, this hour is now my favorite hour of Star Wars ever.
Yeah, given your criteria, given that specific requirement, then yeah, I would tend to agree. The what we got with those characters was great, and more. I mean, you could, if you want Jedi in their prime, you could point to episodes 2 and 3.
Yeah, two is the closest we got to it previously.
Yeah, but a lot of the action in those movies, I don't think is particularly well done.
Well, I liked last episode better than this episode, but
say what?
I liked last episode better than this episode.
Well, but what's your criteria to have you say that? Which is fine. I think that's everyone's opinion.
I don't know. I think it was my spaceships. I think when I think Star Wars, it's spaceships and droids. Mm-hmm. And so we got the big spaceship and the going through the fields and like going around all the objects. That's what you do in Star Wars. And you cast away on ships and you try to be undetected. And we had lightsaber fights and we had all of that as well. But I think I liked last week better.
I think you're both right. I think you're both right.
Valid opinion, yeah.
Yeah, well, because to me, Star Wars is 3 things. It's samurais in space, it's World War II fighter planes in space, and it's cowboys in space.
Yes.
And you guys just covered 2 of the 3 pretty well. We
don't have that Han Solo character here.
Not in this series, and that's okay. We don't always have to have all 3 of those.
I mean, Hera is the closest we get to that character in this series.
Right. Yeah, which isn't very close because she's more of sort of a beleaguered political figure than a space cowboy. But yeah, I mean, these 2 episodes, these last 2, gave us the 2 of those 3 things and did it extremely well. You're absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
And if I want my cowboys in space, I got 3 seasons of The Mandalorian. I can go back and watch whatever.
Yes.
And Solo.
Yeah, and Solo.
Gosh,
yeah.
I quite enjoyed Solo. I don't know who says they don't like it, but they're weird people.
Those, yeah.
Yeah.
I think most of the people that say they don't like it never watched it. They just say that because it didn't get very good box ratings,
Well, I mean, and even that is
fourth time you guys have teed that up in references to the Solo movie.
Sure.
So Steve, did you have, before we move on, did you have a final kind of thought on the series as a whole and this episode in particular?
Well, I was at the end of the day, I was left a little wanting at the end of this, because I think that for an 8-part series where we didn't really know whether they were going to do a season 2 or whether it was going to lead into a movie, I agree with Jefferson that going straight into a movie after this would not be a good idea.
Yeah, that's too much.
But I think that there were too many lost leaders with characters that I don't think it tied up nicely enough on a lot of fronts, and I don't think that it gave us a good enough cliffhanger on other fronts, because we weren't even. I mean, they got back to Dathomir. Great. We knew that's where they were going to end up anyway, but we didn't really see the threat.
There's something coming next, but we have nothing to anticipate.
Yeah, it really left me a little unfulfilled with no sense of closure and no sense of impending doom, where I'm really dying to see what's happening.
It's Empire Strikes Back ending,
Yeah, it's the heroes that are stuck don't even really care.
It definitely, the 7 endings don't work if there isn't a season 2.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that I don't think it's an Empire Strikes Back ending, because Empire Strikes Back was, we were still like trying to catch our breath from, I'm Your Father. But I also think that this, when everybody talks about this being season 5 of Rebels, I think that is more appropriate, because with the caveat that season 6 is coming and we all know it's coming.
Right.
So we all just kind of like, that's okay. It's okay that we didn't get any real closure here. Season 6 is coming.
It would have worked better if we knew for sure there was going to be a season 2.
Right.
And that's what it feels like to me. So, I mean, it was awesome. I loved it. Episode 3, 4, and 5 in particular were insane, over the top, fantastic. But I want more.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the bottom line. Is it's Star Wars. We love Star Wars. Give us more Star Wars.
Right.
What do we want? Star Wars. When do we want it?
Real
Now.
soon.
Yesterday.
So
2025 at the latest.
You guys
Please earlier. 2024. Let's roll for that.
So you guys really teed it up. We've been looking for a way, since we've been doing the show. It's coming up on. It's been 10 months now that we've been doing this show. We ended up doing primarily episodes of series. We had originally intended to do movies as well. Like, the original concept for this show had been that we were going to do all of Star Wars in sequential order. Before we even filmed the first episode, we're like, no, that's dumb. We're not going to do that. So we very
Clone
quickly,
Wars. Let's go.
yeah. So we very quickly went to, let's just do interesting. Let's just decide on a basis, on a regular basis, what's interesting to talk about, and just as things made sense to kind of cover. So we are going to try to circle back around and start trying to talk about movies. Let me get Erin back in here. Since
Sorry,
Erin
I'm back.
dropped back in. No problem. So what we're going to do next week is we are going to try to find, I think we finally have found a new and different way to review movies on this show. So it'll be a little bit different. And so for everyone who's watching, or people watching this, afterwards on YouTube and everything, we're going to try something different next week. We're going to try to review a synopsized version of one of the movies. We're going to start with the aforementioned Solo. So we're going with the Solo movie next week. We will be doing that, and then after that, we're going to move into Andor. So we're going to go back to a series after that. We'll do Andor, and the logical thing to do after Andor would be to do Rogue One. So. Yeah. So our next run of episodes are going to be, it's going to be Solo, then first season of Andor, and then Rogue One, and then from there we'll see where that takes us. But thank you for joining us. We actually had like 3 people live. Thanks, Nick Long did some comments in the chat and stuff. So join us on Facebook at Binging the Force, where you can watch this live weekly every Wednesday. If you can also watch it on Twitch as well at Binging the Force. If you want to listen to this in audio, take it in the car or use it for running or biking or something like that, use any podcast client and look for Binging the Force. If you have a deep burning need to wear Binging the Force merchandise, which I haven't even done in the show in a while, you can go to bingingtheforce.myspreadsshop.com. But most importantly, and the way most people watch this is, go ahead and go to YouTube and like and subscribe us on YouTube at Binging the Force. And thank you, and we'll see everyone next week for Solo. Hopefully, we get some of these wonderful people here. Thank you so much for doing this with us this week, and may the Force be with us.
Bye.
See you all next time.